Speed is my motto, nothing's ever holding back.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Lone Road iRacing podcast, the show where we talk about sim racing, racecraft and the strange psychological roller coaster that is trying to become a better iRacer week after week. Now today's episode focuses on a class that many people know about but far fewer actually participate in. Touring cars, more specifically the TCR class in iRacing. Now, if you spend most of your time racing GT3s, prototypes or Formula cars, touring cars might not be something you've really ever considered. They're not the fastest cars in the sim for sure. They're not the most glamorous either. But what they are is some of the most entertaining racing you can find on the service. Front wheel drive, close pack racing, drivers leaning on each other through corners, and that constant battle with understeer and tyre management. But historically the TCR class in iRacing has always been a little bit of a hidden gem. Those who race it absolutely love it. But participation has never quite exploded in the way we've seen with GT3s, IMSA or Formula racing. But all that might be about to change, because iRacing has just announced a major overhaul of the TCR class, bringing updates to the physics, braking systems, tyre behaviour and overall handling of these cars. So in today's episode we're going to look at what these changes actually are, how they will affect driving the cars, why this could reinvigorate the entire class, and why you might want to give TCR a little try. Because sometimes the most exciting racing on iRacing isn't the fastest, it's the closest. So let's get into it. Before we talk about the actual overhaul, we need to understand what actually makes TCR cars unique, because they drive very differently compared to most cars on iRacing. The biggest reason is simple. They are all front-wheel drive. Now that might not sound like a big deal, but in racing terms it changes everything. In a GT car or a Formula car, the rear wheels are doing the work of putting power down. That means managing oversteer, balancing throttle inputs, and carefully controlling the rear of the car. TCR cars are the complete opposite. Everything happens through the front tyres. The front tyres brake the car, they turn the car, and they accelerate the car, which means those tyres are constantly under enormous stress. Push too hard and the car begins to push wide. Overdrive the corner entry and you'll get brutal understeer. And if you destroy the front tyres early in the race, guess what? You'll spend the remaining laps just trying to survive. But here's the brilliant thing about touring cars. Because they're not insanely fast, the racing tends to be incredibly close. Drivers can run side by side through multiple corners. You can lean on another car without instantly destroying your race. And the result is something touring cars fans love. Proper door-to-door racing. And if you've watched touring cars, the BTCC touring cars in the UK, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. Before the update arrives, iRacing already has a solid selection of TCR machinery. The current lineups include Hyundai Elantra N TCR, Hyundai Veloster N TCR, the Honda Civic Type R TCR, and the Audi RS3 LMS TCR. Each of these cars has its own personality. The Hyundai Elantra is stable and predictable. The Veloster feels a little more playful and agile. The Honda Civic has an aggressive front end and strong traction, and the Audi tends to feel powerful but slightly heavier in its behaviour. Now, even though these cars are kept fairly balanced through iRacing's performance balancing system, or experienced drivers can definitely feel the subtle differences between them. But the biggest thing is they all share is the classic touring car challenge, managing front tyre grip. Rotate the car properly and you're quick. Overdrive it and you're slow. And that's where this new overhaul becomes really interesting, because iRacing has decided to take a fresh look at how the entire class behaves. Now let's talk about the big news that was launched just last week. The upcoming iRacing build includes a significant overhaul of the TCR class, and it touches several important systems. This isn't just a minor tweak, it's a genuine refresh of how these cars behave. One of the biggest areas of change is the tyre model. The front tyres in particular are receiving updates that improve how grip builds and falls away as the tyres heat up. For touring cars, this is absolutely crucial, because unlike many other race cars, the front tyres are doing nearly all the work. Brake too hard, turn too aggressively, or push the car too early in a stint, and those front tyres will start to suffer. What the new update aims to do is create more realistic behaviour as those tyres wear and heat up. That means drivers will need to manage them carefully across the race. Another important update involves weight transfer and inertia modelling. This sounds technical, but in practical terms it means the car should behave more naturally when transitioning between braking, turning and acceleration. Drivers should notice better rotation under braking, smoother weight transfer and improved stability mid-corner, which should make the cars feel both more realistic and more predictable. And then there's the braking. Touring cars rely heavily on trail braking. You don't just slow the car down. You use braking to rotate the car into the corner. The braking system changes in this update aim to improve the rotation and allow drivers to better control the car's balance as they approach the apex. Combined with tweaks to power delivery and drivetrain behaviour, the goal is simple. Make the cars feel closer to their real-world counterparts. We're going to have a short break now and hear from the podcast's sponsor, Outlap. We'll be right back. We're having a quick pause here to mention our sponsor, Outlap, who are supporting the podcast. Outlap is built around the side of sim racing we don't talk about enough. The focus, the preparation, and mental work that happens long before the race actually starts. It's not about hype or loud designs, it's about process, patience, and showing up ready, whether that's in the rig or stepping away from it. If that side of sim racing resonates with you, you'll find Outlap quietly ticking along in the background. I want to thank Outlap again for sponsoring the podcast and the link to their sim racing apparel store is in the show notes. Welcome back, listeners, and thanks again to Outlap for sponsoring today's podcast. Now, this update from iRacing on the TCRs makes me think why this update could revive the class. And it's an interesting question. Will this overall actually change the popularity of the TCR class on iRacing? Because historically, touring cars in iRacing have been something of a niche. Those who drive them clearly love them, but participation hasn't been always huge. This update could change all that. First, improved realism always attracts attention. Whenever iRacing updates a car class with new physics or tyre behaviour, drivers get curious. They jump in to see how the cars feel, and that alone can bring fresh life into a series. Second, the driving challenge of touring cars is very different from other classes. Many drivers who struggle with GT3 cars actually find touring cars easier to manage. They're slower, they're more forgiving, but there's still a skill required to drive them. Third, touring cars naturally produce exciting racing. Because the cars are closely matched in performance, the field tends to stay tightly packed. Overtaking happens regularly, battles last multiple laps, and those kinds of races are incredibly satisfying and exciting. So why should you try the new TCR update or the TCR class in iRacing? If you've never raced a touring car in iRacing, you might be surprised how useful they are for improving your driving. They teach several important skills. First, tyre management. Because the front tyres do so much work, you quickly learn that driving smoothly is faster than driving aggressively. Second, trail braking. To rotate these cars properly, you need to carry braking into the corner entry, and that's a skill that transfers directly into GT cars and Formula cars later on. And thirdly, racecraft. Touring car races are really lonely. You'll almost always be racing someone, which means learning how to position the car, defend, attack, and stay calm under pressure. And those skills are valuable in every class in iRacing. So to conclude today's main topic, I think it was a really good strategy for iRacing to work on the TCR class. It's clearly got some love but needs a lot more. Personally, I'm going to go and give it a go. Why not? I've got nothing to lose. I've got the cars already, so why not give it a go? And hopefully I'll see some of you listeners and viewers in the upcoming series after week 13. We're going to be right back, and we're going to talk about a question in the Agony Uncle segment. Don't go away. So this brings us to this week's iRacing Agony Uncle. This is the section where listeners or viewers write into the show with real questions about their iRacing journey or problems. This week's question comes from a podcast listener who recently graduated out of the Mazda Rookie Series. They wrote into the show asking, after the Mazda and moving to D-Class, what series ladder should I focus on to gain more skills to allow me to progress further in iRacing? And that is a fantastic question, because this is exactly the moment where many drivers accidentally slow down their development. They leave rookies, and we've all left rookies probably, and suddenly they start wanting to drive everything. GT4 one week, Formula cars the next, maybe a bit of production, car challenge, and before long they're jumping between cars every week. That makes it very difficult to develop consistency. The key thing to remember here is that iRacing has two main development paths: sports car and formula cars, if you're racing on the road, of course. If your goal is sports car racing, then a very logical ladder looks like this. You've done the Mazda, you've driven it to death in rookies, and you've got to enjoy it. What about then looking at the Toyota GR86 Cup, then the GT4, then eventually the GT3, expanding into endurance racing if that is something you like to do. The GR86 is an excellent step after the Mazda because it builds on many of the same skills: momentum driving, weight transfer, and smooth cornering. It's essentially a slightly more demanding version of the Mazda, so think of it like its big brother. But if your interest leans more towards open wheel racing, then the Ray FF1600 is a fantastic next step. This car is one of the purest driver's cars on the entire service. It has no assists, very little power, which means speed comes from precision, smooth steering inputs, perfect braking, and maintaining momentum. Master the FF1600 and you'll build an incredible foundation for cars like the Formula 4 and beyond. And interestingly, touring cars like the TCR class we discussed today can also be a great part of learning the environment. They teach tyre management, trail braking and racecraft in traffic. But the most important advice I can give is this: don't jump between 5 different cars, pick one series for a full season. Learn the car, learn how it behaves over a race distance, learn how it reacts to tyre wear. Consistency builds confidence, confidence builds speeds, and speed brings the results. So just to touch base there on the FF1600, that's my personal favourite car on the whole service at the moment. I really enjoyed it since it came onto the service, and it really does develop your skill set. So anybody else that's got any questions for the podcast, viewers or listeners, please send them in to the show's email, which is in the show notes below. So to bring today's episode to a close, the TCR Overhaul is shaping up to be a really interesting update for iRacing, with its improved physics and better tyre behaviour, and potentially a fresh wave of drivers discovering how entertaining touring car racing can be. If you've never tried the class before, this might be the perfect time to jump in and see what all the fuss is about. As always, if you've got a question for the iRacing Agony Uncle, feel free to send it into the show and we might feature it in future episodes. And of course, a big thank you once again to Alat for sponsoring the podcast. Anybody that wants to be a guest on the show and do a bit of an intimate interview, also please reach out via the show's email. And I'm always looking for co-hosts. Until next time, focus, prepare, perform. Happy iRacing, and I'll see you on the track soon.
Whatever it takes, we're racing, we're in the zone. Whatever it takes, we push hard, never alone. I'm in the cockpit, the engines roar, hear me now. We're racing circles, got a hustle, made a vow. Chasing victory, it's all or nothing on the track. Speed is my motto, nothing's ever holding back. Whatever it takes.